You're listening to the Small Business Talk podcast with Cathy Smith, episode 35.
Small Business Talk is a podcast for business owners and entrepreneurs who want a better way to run their businesses without spending years doing it the hard way. Small Business Talk is hosted by Cathy Smith, who has run the same marketing agency for more than 17 years and helped hundreds of business owners achieve their marketing goals.
Hey, I'm so glad you could join us.
Today's guest is Audrey Patterson, and Audrey is from It's Your Life. Welcome, Audrey.
Thank you. How are you? Good morning.
Very well, thank you.
Good evening, good morning.
No matter what time you're at, have a good time. Okay. Audrey, would you like to tell us why you're on the podcast and a little bit about your business?
Okay, my background has been in financial services. I've been a financial advisor for over 30 years. I'm in Scotland. Financial services has changed dramatically over 30 years. Lots of people in financial services will look at having 3 income streams. That's what I've always coached my clients to actually do. One of my businesses basically become one of my businesses because of a passion, and that's health and wellness. So I split my time. I now have a work-life balance between financial services and network marketing. I'm sure some people have heard of network marketing. And again, I came into network marketing because of the health challenges that I had. Financial services, I've had lots of challenges and lots of struggles on the way because of the changing regulations and the changes that have been affected with people changing towards becoming a more suing society. We've got lots of challenges with that, so lots of restrictions that have been put on our industry, lots of costs, increasing costs, and that's why I suggest everybody has the 3 income streams, because if you have one pressure with one business, you have always another one to support the other business.
Perfect. So today we're going to talk about how to plan your business to give yourself financial freedom. So it sounds like having multiple income streams might be a good place to start.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, planning your business, no one plans to fail, they just fail to plan. A lot of people on a Monday morning haven't made their plan, so they'll just coast for the whole week and think, I'll get to my destination and I'll have made it. And if I speak to people on a Friday and they haven't made it, it's because they haven't set their plan on a Monday. Touching your business every single day in just whatever way you can, and that's actually, it could be 5-10 minutes. Make sure that you have moved your business forward, but also don't get hung up on your to-do list when you get to the end of the day and look at your to-do list and think, actually, I haven't crossed that off. Take 6 things forward to the next day, but don't overwhelm yourself the next day, or the next day is not going to start well either. But you really have to set the plan, do, and then review. And that's how you can move your business forward. If you don't review it, you won't know what's worked well and what hasn't worked well.
Perfect. And I think that's something when we're planning a holiday or going on a road trip, we get out the map, we work out where we have to go, we work out where our stop points are. But when we're working in our business every day, most of us work in our business and not on our business. So That's great advice, is to just spend that small amount of time each day on your business, so that you do actually move the needle, and by the end of the week, you're not going, oh no, there's another week gone.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is just so easy. And you're right, Cathy, because I probably learned a lot of this. My financial services business, my son was born 20 years ago, and I put my phone on and I had 2 weeks maternity leave. Not by choice. My husband was working with me at the time and I was back working. Now, I didn't have the head to actually plan what I was doing because obviously I had this baby brain. But I was back working, but I had to deal with what I had to deal with at that time. And it was just move forward, keep moving forward.
And that's so true of a lot of people, isn't it? They don't plan on holidays. They don't plan on things like having babies. And they also don't plan on when their staff are going to be away. What are they actually going to do if they only have 1 or 2 employees? So planning is absolutely huge, especially for financial freedom. So that's a great tip.
Yeah, and one of the things that I use is, because I have two businesses, in my diary I use time chunking. And there's lots of different things that you can use. There's different programs that are available as well. You know, you can use online planners as well. But in my diary, I have time chunking. and I have it all coloured, and it depends how you actually learn. Me, I like visual, so I like it all coloured, but some people will look at it and just be terrified of it, so that I can slot in what I need to do for each business in that day, when I know I have to be with my son, when I need to do mindset, when I need to be at the gym. And if I don't actually put all the things that I really need to do in, then your time can run away, because sometimes we actually give our time away too easily as well. Like, for instance, I've set myself, I'm doing 3 nights at the gym, but when a client will phone and say, Audrey, can I see you? And I would normally have given that time up, where now what I'll say is, no, that time is actually, that's in, it's permanent, and this is the hours that I have. And sometimes we don't value ourselves and we don't do that. We'll just give the time up because we think that's what we should do.
Yes, and that's so true. If that was an appointment with a client, you wouldn't be double booking that client. You have to think of those appointments with yourself as client time. And like you say, they're set in stone, put in concrete, and they can't move. And I think that's where small business owners quite often end up coming unstuck, is because they're chasing the dollar whether they need to or not. They're going, okay, that's a paying client, I have to take that appointment. But in reality, of course, the client's probably quite happy to reschedule to a different time, or it's not even rescheduling because you haven't booked it to start with, but get a different time, and you still get to go to the gym, which is your mindset and your physical, which means that you can run your business better.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I say this about supermarkets, they open 24 hours, but if they were only open 12, people would get there in the 12. And it's the same with us, but sometimes we don't value ourselves, Cathy. I mean, I was known at one time as the martini girl. It was any time, any place, anywhere, because I would just give up my time to be there when a client wanted something, and you basically get misused. You have to put yourself first, because it's going to the gym and it's actually doing these things that actually make you more efficient to be able to go to do a better client meeting.
Perfect. That's exactly right with the supermarkets, because when I was a teenager, we didn't have 24-hour shopping, and we didn't even have Sunday shopping. So we had to either go Thursday night, because that was the only time after work, or Saturday morning, and we all did it. That was our shopping time. You didn't book other things on those times, you booked it around. So it's just that we all still have the same amount of time and money. It's just how we allocate it.
Absolutely. We all have the same 24 hours, and it's what we choose to do with those 24 hours that is key to how our business will actually move forward.
Perfect. So our first tip is to plan. Our second tip is to chunk time or block time. What would our third tip be for financial freedom in our businesses?
Review. You have to keep reviewing what you're doing, because you may just keep going for 3 months and think, you're sailing and everything's going fantastically well, and you think this is fabulous. But unless you're actually reviewing what has happened and actually changing what has happened that hasn't worked, then you're just going to do another 3 months where you get the same results.
Absolutely. And those results might be actually driving your business into the ground.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, but if we're not looking at our numbers, we don't know what our numbers are, so we can't measure them, so we can't make any adjustments.
Yep, absolutely. Again, I'll say to people, how much do you want to earn? They'll tell me how many hours that they can actually do to earn that money. And then at the end of it, they'll say, I haven't made anything. But when I ask them how many hours they've actually done, their hourly rate is actually really high, but they just haven't done enough.
Yes, and sometimes it's what they're doing in those hours. I mean, there's lots of different software that you can track what you're doing on the computer, and it's amazing how many hours people spend trolling through Facebook and the other social medias and basically wasting their time.
Yeah, it's got to be income producing, and if it's not income producing, then your business is not going to make money.
Exactly, and then you're not going to be able to make a living. Okay, so we're now reviewing. What should we be doing next?
Making a plan for 3 to 5 years. I mean, it's okay saying you know what you're doing for 3 months. Do it for 90 days, do it for the year, but make a plan for 3 to 5 years. Know where you want to be in the 3 to 5 years. I always suggest in terms of money, when you're actually looking at how much you've earned as well, it's a third, a third, a third. Always be ploughing 10% back into what you're actually doing. So say you've earned £1,000, £100 must go back into your business to move your business forward. The other third, I coach in primary schools as well. That is for 1/3 of that. People forget that they've got to pay taxes. People forget that, there's holidays, there's Christmas and everything else. And they get to the end and think, oh, fabulous, I've made money. Actually, I've not made any plans what to do with the money. And you must put it away for longer term. But you must always invest 10% back in for your business to move forward, and then review it again for the 3 to 5 years.
So that's a trap that a lot of people fall into. In Australia, we have GST. So we earn the money, but then we have to give the government the GST component as well as pay our taxes. And the amount of people that actually spend their GST money because they think it's theirs, they come to the end of the month, the quarter or the year, depending on how they're paying what we call BAS, which is your GST component, and they've got no money to pay it.
Yeah, absolutely. But everyone does that because, I mean, if you've worked in a job, then, it's what you get is net and everything has been removed. But when we decide to go self-employed, we take responsibility for what we do. And lots of people will just take whatever, and think that they can just spend that because that's their money. But it's not, because if they had been in a company where it was being taken off, they wouldn't have the money.
So I think that works well when people have bank accounts where they actually put stuff in it at the end of the week or the month, so they haven't got it in their spending account, or when it's automatically deposited into somewhere else where they can't see it. I think that works quite well. I'm not sure whether you're a fan of Profit First or not, but that's very popular at the moment with Mike Michalowicz, and that's what he talks about is different bank accounts so you can't actually see the money.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of our accounts, I'm with Bank of Scotland, and we have all these different pots. I actually have direct debit set up so that when it comes in, it basically just goes to the other pots.
Yep, so you can't see it, you can't spend it.
It's not there. Payday comes in, but it goes in the other pots and they're there. Okay, you can transfer it back, but it's a physical thing that you've got to do to transfer it back.
Yes, and that's a mindset thing. So you actually do need to go over to that account and then say, okay, I'm taking that money for whatever reason, as opposed to it's just there to spend.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is why, Cathy, then other people will then think, actually, I can't live on this because, I don't know about Australia, but things are tough in the UK, and one income stream maybe just doesn't do all the things that they want to do. And that's why the second income, it could be around what they're doing, where they maybe just instead of watching TV, they would do something else. But that would bring in another income stream. Now, that other income stream could be the part that feeds into the tax account. Mm-hmm. That they don't actually see that money. That just feeds a tax account. So then they can live on their gross wage or the gross income that comes in.
Perfect. And you talked about 3 to 5 year plans. So would you actually do those plans first and then work backwards to what you need to be doing 1 year, quarterly, monthly, weekly,
absolutely.
daily?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and it depends how firm you are on your plan. Some people say, I've got a 3 to 5 year plan, but really they're not firm on their plan. It could be 5 to 10 years. But if someone has a firm plan for 3 to 5 years, then it's basically sitting down with them saying, right, this is what we have to do. I don't actually know how your pension works, but in the UK, for instance, in a final salary scheme, 6%, so someone starts at 18, 6% gets taken off and that goes away. And what used to happen, it's changed now, but what used to happen is they would retire in 40 years with a maximum pension. So right away, your 6% had been taken off and you had planned for retiring in 40 years. It was 30 years for some schemes, it's now 40 years. So that plan was in place and you couldn't change it. Now, if I get an 18-year-old or I get a 21-year-old who start with me, I'll basically say to them, this is what we need to do. And if I can get them before their first wage actually hits their bank, they'll do that.
Yes.
Because they've never had the money. But
yes.
if they've had the money and then they think, you're telling me I have to put £200 away, they've already had the benefit of having that £200. So for me to convert their head to think, I now need to give you that, it's more difficult.
Absolutely. So we have superannuation, so that takes 9% off if you're employed. And if you're self-employed, you can choose to or not to. So that's where small businesses also get stuck, is because they don't put their 9% away and they've worked their life in their business and they get to the end and there's no superannuation and there's very little pension, if any. And certainly by the time I get to retirement age, there won't be any. And then, of course, our American audience have a different scheme again. So definitely putting away a percentage for your retirement is a really good idea.
Absolutely. I mean, we're talking about 75. Our pension, they're actually at the moment talking about 75. At the moment, it's 66, 67, 68. But they're talking about putting it to 75. So if you look on any of my social media, I talk about time, freedom, choices. When my son was born, as I said, I put my phone on, I had 9 referrals. I had no choice. I was training my husband. I was back working because I had to. But now I have 2 incomes, but also have properties that bring in income. So I have incomes that come in that give me the time to be able to take a bit, just take a bit of a breather and think, okay, that's what I need to do. And I think that's why the 3 incomes are so important. that you look at everything that comes in and how it comes in, because there's one of the posts that actually I will put out, and you can only work 8 hours. But if you work out how much you earn for those 8 hours, you can actually earn 24 hours. And that's why I possibly enjoy network marketing, because I build the business in Australia. I build it all over the world where income comes in when I'm sleeping.
Perfect.
So you're more efficient with your time, you're more efficient with your income, and you actually duplicate your income. So I'll talk to people about whatever you're passionate about, make that into an income stream.
That's a great idea, because you've got your main business that you're working in, but then you've got this fun passion thing on the side that it will actually make you money.
Yeah. And it's a hobby. It's not.
Yes.
So when you go home, you don't, when you would normally go home and think, I've got a lot of regulation things to do, you just think, well, that'll do tomorrow. Whereas if you go home, they call it your hustle. You will actually work on it because you enjoy it. It's not what you do. And that's where, when you say to me, what do I have now? I have a good work-life balance. That's what I have. And that's because I work 2 days in financial services, but I also work on something that I particularly enjoy.
Yes, so that's perfect. So you're quite happy to work in your after hours time because it's something you would do anyway. So why not make some money out of it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. Okay, so we've talked about reviewing, we've talked about planning. So is there any other major points that we should be thinking about to get our financial freedom sorted?
Yeah, look at something that can duplicate your time. It could be you have a product and you could put your product on, say it's Etsy or Pinterest. That brings more hourly. Say your hourly rate is $100, let's say. If you can make that $200, then obviously you can make your business much more successful. So just look at how you can actually increase your hourly. I keep talking about hourly rate, but really we are self-employed. And if we work out from your plan how much you've actually earned, then look at how can you make that hourly rate more so that you can work in your business less.
Perfect. And then you do have that freedom to be able to sit back and go, okay, well, what's the next product that I'm going to think of, or the next course? Because once you're in the weeds all the time, you don't have that creative freedom. So that becomes an issue of then making that the next product or increase the hourly rate on the things that you are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually had gone to Vegas to hear, it was an event called GoPro, but Mel Robbins was there. And one of the things she talks about is put your phone off and engage your genius brain. And I think we're actually lost in social media. We look online, we look on Google, we take everybody's perspective of what we think should happen. Actually, just look inside, because we have ideas if we just let our own ideas come through.
And I think that's it, isn't it? We're too busy looking outside, so we procrastinate. We've got to do one more course, we've got to do one more this, we've got to do one more that, go to another seminar before we think we're actually qualified enough to put our stuff out into the world. So, yes, sometimes we've just got to press the button and go for it.
Well, absolutely, because, my biggest inspiration is Richard Branson. Just do it. He didn't know what to do, but do it. And learn as you go along. We don't know everything, and we don't need to know everything until we need to know it.
Yep, absolutely. You only got to be a couple of chapters ahead of your students, and then you become the expert. So imperfect action.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. So is there any final comments that you would like to make and think that small businesses should be watching to not get caught in the financial trap?
Don't look sideways and don't look at your competitors. Concentrate on your journey and connect with your why. Why did you start it? Are you still passionate about it? Do you still believe in what you're actually doing? And if you do, keep doing it, but don't stop. I always explain it like a water wheel. You'll get some momentum, but you just keep going with the momentum because it will come through. But the only way that you will keep pushing that is if you've really connected with your why.
That's great. And I think a lot of people actually do judge themselves on the other people's halfway or finish and forget that you're just starting. Everybody had to start somewhere, or you're in the middle of your journey. Yeah, don't judge it on other people.
Yeah, don't compare your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 20. We're not on the same page. We may be on a journey together, but do not compare yourself to someone else. You've no idea what their journey's been like either, and they don't know what your journey's been like, so it's your journey, but you need to keep connecting with your why. And that's a big learning for me, actually, because what I thought my why wasn't what my why was. I keep going back to review what my actual why is and connect with it on every level.
Excellent. Okay, so with all my guests, I ask them 5 final questions. So are you up for my 5 final questions?
Of course. Yes, yeah.
Okay, what's the best advice you've been given by a mentor?
Just keep going. Just keep going and don't look sideways. That's my biggest thing.
Wonderful. What is the biggest help that you have received since starting your business?
I can't actually say one specific thing. Learning, just keep learning and keep being open to learning. My friends don't understand me going and just keep, doing courses and just taking things in. But I believe even if I pass it out to somebody, I want to know what they're doing so that I know what's been done. Does that make sense? So just keep learning. Just be this, just be the student all the time.
Yes, I must admit I'm a bit of a training junkie. I need to do extra courses all the time and love to learn, so that's perfect. What is the one thing that you have to do every day, your non-negotiable?
Mindset. Absolutely. Mindset. First thing in the morning, last thing at night, I listen to blueprints. It's so easy to put on social media and take in everybody's negatives, and all their problems, and it is so easy to absorb them. You need to get your head in the right place before you let the world in.
Wonderful. What is your favourite business book and why?
Oh, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And that came from when I was 23. An old Indian gentleman said to me, I think you could benefit from reading this. And I just kind of looked at him. I was really actually taken aback. I thought he was being rude. That was where I actually ventured into let's look at positivity.
Excellent. And the final question of our 5 is, what do you wish you had known when you started out?
You can be anything you want to be, and if you believe it.
And I think that is so relevant for girls these days because they really can be anything they want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've written an ebook about this, Cathy, because I think in Australia you're slightly different. But in the UK, my mum would say to me, you were born to be a lady, you weren't required, don't get above your station. All of these negative things, which was to keep me grounded. And I would absorb lots of it. And it still takes it because I still talk about it. So it's obviously still there. Once I managed to get rid of some of that, I know I can be anything I want to be if I believe it. But then you've always got the wee bit in your shoulder where somebody's saying, who does she think she is? But you can be, and you just really need to believe that you can be anything you want to be if you can get your head into that and actually walk into the person you want to be that person. Think about the Elvis. I'm coaching my son just now because he's doing musical theatre. Think about Elvis. Elvis parked his van 1,000 yards from where he went on stage, and he walked that 1,000 yards, and when he got on that stage he was Elvis, but he wasn't 1,000 yards back. So whatever you want to be, walk into it, be that person and live in it.
That's great advice. And yes, we don't have quite the class structure here, fortunately, anymore, but we do have major problems with imposter syndrome, particularly women who haven't done a formal education. So they're running their businesses through the multi-level marketing, the MLMs, those kind of things. So they're getting all this wonderful training, but they don't actually have a certificate. So sometimes they get stuck a bit with the imposter syndrome. Who are you to be doing this sort of stuff? So we've actually done a couple of episodes on that to help the girls. So, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but, for me, that's a satisfaction with network marketing because I can help anybody be anything they want to be, whereas they were stuck. At 16, one young girl that's in my business, it's a manager, she was 16, she was stuck. She thought she would never be anything. When she became a manager, she came from the corner. She was out in the middle of the floor with a microphone because she was something.
Absolutely. And that's the opportunities that you can get. So it's just incredible where we can go these days. So it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, that is us done. So thank you very much, Audrey. Would you like to say anything final? And can you tell the audience where they can find you if they'd like to know more information?
Yeah, just keep going. That's all I can say. And find, Audible books is my absolute favourite. Over Christmas, I listened to 32 Audible books. I don't read books because I don't have time, but I always have an earphone in and listening to something. Invest in Audible and just keep going. You'll get me. My website is www.audreypatterson.com, and I'm all about creating a plan for people who have a passion. It doesn't have to be network marketing, and it doesn't have to be in health and wellness. That's my passion. I help you create a plan with your passion. Plan it and it will happen, and just keep visiting it and it will happen.
Wonderful. That's some excellent tips, and I'm sure the audience will get great value out of that. We will link to your website in the show notes. And the ebook you talked about, could we link to that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's called Growing Up with Freckles in My Nose. And that was from all the things you can imagine, the negativity from red hair and freckles. That was why I called it that. And it's just some of the challenges that I had with that, some of the challenges that I had in a male-dominated industry. I asked my boss when I was 23 what my career path was. He said, I thought you were here passing your time till you get married and had a baby.
Oh dear.
And that's where it started. You know, that and Dale Carnegie, it was like, well, you watch me, here I go. All the challenges that I have, and I think I have stuff to share with other people.
Perfect. And I think that's sometimes where we get spurred on, isn't it? They say you can't do it. So we just go, yeah, you watch me, you see where I'm going to go.
Absolutely, Cathy. And my favourite thing is my haters are my motivators.
I like that. I like that. We might have to do that as a quote for the publicity on this episode. So thank you very much. So really appreciate your time, Audrey. And like I say, we'll link all of that in the show notes. So that is us done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Don't forget to subscribe to Small Business Talk podcast and head on over to smallbusinestalk.com.au/downloads for all the show notes and links to this episode. Remember, to be great, you must start. Pick one tip from today's episode, take action and implement it. Let's meet again next week at the same time and place. Until then, take action. And SBT community, enjoy your journey.